Welcome to another episode of the Blitz to Glory podcast with Alec Pecano. On today's show, I will be giving you my week one MVP chart. I mentioned at the end of last season that I would be releasing MVP charts every week in the 2025 season, and it starts today. We are going to hop right into it. Let me pull it up. Share screen. So here's the MVP chart. And how it works is we have picks against the spread, money line, locks, and game picks. And we also have another chart that's not regular picks. So the picks against the spread, obviously, you know how that works. And we've got four. Every category has four picks. And our first pick against the spread for our MVP, which our MVP section compared to everybody else's is completely free. It is Buffalo plus 17.5 to cover against Minnesota. Now, and all these I'm going to explain the reasoning behind. So with this first one, Minnesota was shaky last year. As you can see, the many times we picked them, they would lose. And I'm willing to start to see it off betting against them and having Buffalo here cover the point spread. And I feel like 17.5, that's too high for the first game of the year for a point spread to be. So I would take Buffalo plus the 17.5. And we have the same point spread in the next game, Jacksonville State plus 17.5 to cover against UCF. UCF, both of these teams have a new head coach, but we've seen Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State played in week 0. They played okay. They did get beat by Western Kentucky. But I would feel comfortable here taking Jacksonville State plus the 17.5. We have not seen UCF play this year. This is their first game of the year. For one, and two, it's a whole new staff in Orlando, and they had a lot of guys transfer out, and they did bring a lot of transfers in with Scott Frost. But I like Jacksonville State plus the 17.5. The next game is East Carolina plus 14 to cover against North Carolina State. This is a rivalry game. ECU beat North Carolina State last year in a bowl game. I think NC State does end up winning this game, but I like East Carolina to cover that 14. It's an easy cover spot here for me for East Carolina. And the last one, Western Michigan plus 20.5 to cover against Michigan State. It's year 2 under Jonathan Smith for Michigan State, but 20.5. That's too many for me. That's too many points on a spread. And I feel like Western Michigan's gonna score some points, and they're gonna keep this game relatively close. So I would feel comfortable taking them to cover the 20.5 point spread. Now we get over to the money line, and the first one, as you see in this, Ohio State money line versus Texas. This has gone from Ohio State minus, I think it was 400 at the beginning of last week, and now it's gone all the way down throughout the week up until obviously we put this chart out today. It's now at minus 120, and I would take that every day of the week that ends in Y. I would take Ohio State minus the 120. I think it's going to be, I know for a fact it's going to be a close game. There is no way you're going to tell me that Ohio State or Texas is going to get blown out unless something drastically bad happens during the game. So I'd feel comfortable taking Ohio State on the money line minus 120. The reason, let me say this, the reason Ohio State and Texas, the Ohio State-Texas game is not on the picks against the spread is to me, I feel like the point spread is way too low. It's at 1.5. It might have gone up to 2. I feel like anything under 5, relatively speaking, is a gamble if you're going to take the spread. So that's why I put Ohio State, Texas on here for the money line, and Ohio State obviously minus 120. Next one is Texas A&M money line minus 3,000. This is another one that has kind of fluctuated a little bit over the last week and a half. It started at, I think, minus 5,000 on the money line for Texas A&M, and it's gone down. And as you see, we have it at minus 3,000. I like A&M to win this. I like A&M to beat UTSA, and I like them to win based on the money line. Next one is Florida State money line plus 400 against Alabama. Now, this one might be scary. This one might be a little scary due to the fact that it is a Doak Campbell, but we don't know what Florida State we're going to get. Are we going to get the Florida State we had last season where it was horribly awful and they only won 2 games? Or are we going to get a much improved Florida State? And Alabama, I don't trust in the first game of the year. It's not Nick Saban anymore. This is year 2 under Kalen DeBoer. So give me Florida State plus 400 on the money line. And the last money line pick we have is Miami of Ohio plus 620. This is another one that started kind of high. It was at 840. No, I think it was at plus 900 going into last week. And it's just kept plummeting and plummeting. I really like Miami of Ohio plus 620 on the money line against Wisconsin. And here is the reasoning why. I don't trust what we've seen Wisconsin's offense the last 2 years. I don't trust it. And if I did, I would stay away from this game altogether. But I don't trust Wisconsin to score more than 30 points against Miami of Ohio. That's why I have Miami of Ohio on the money line here, plus 620. And now we get to my MVP locks, which basically means the percentage chance I'm giving a team of winning. And the first one is Georgia Tech at 80, the highest I have for week 1, at 88.5% chance to beat Colorado. Now, hear me out and listen to what I have to say here. Colorado's replacing Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, Shiloh Sanders, Jimmy Horn, Xavier Weaver. They are replacing a lot on offense and Travis Hunter on defense as well. So, Georgia Tech returns 2 key starters, Jamal Haynes and Haynes King. So that's why they have in week 1 for me, that is why they have the highest percent chance to win. Now we get to the second highest percent chance to win, and it is Washington at 84% to beat Colorado State. And I will be talking about Washington's quarterback later on in this episode. But I'm giving them an 84% chance to win because of Damon Williams, Jonah Coleman, Jed Fish. I believe Denzel Boston's one of their receivers. I think they're going to beat the brakes off of Colorado State. Next one, and it's the third highest chance to win, is FAU 79.5% chance to beat Maryland. Now, hear me out on this one. Maryland is penciled in to be a bottom feeder in the Big Ten this year. And I trust FAU with a new coaching staff this year to actually be good and win 5 to 6 games. And that's why I give them an almost 80% chance to beat Maryland. And if you're going to look for the results show, it is going to be next Tuesday. Next Tuesday will be the results show. It's either next Monday or Tuesday. And then the following video after that will be the release of the week 2 MVP chart. So, and then the team I give the lowest percentage chance to win this week is Mississippi State at 65.65.5% to beat Southern Miss. This game could go either way. Southern Miss could win, Mississippi State could win. That's why it is not 50. It's higher than 50, but lower than 70. That's why it's at 65. Mississippi State could have another bad year, or this could be the start of the turnaround for Mississippi State. But I think it's more likely, with it being 65% chance, that means either team has a chance to win. And now we get to the MVP chart game picks. First one is Boise State versus South Florida. And we're going with South Florida. And this is a game I will be calling Thursday night. Update, we're only doing play-by-play for one game Thursday. And it'll be South Florida and Boise State because Saturday we have LSU Clemson at 7:30. But I think everybody here believes that South Florida has a really good shot at beating Boise State. I think they do. That is why we're picking South Florida. LSU Clemson. This to me is the biggest game of week 1 on Saturday. Because there's another game on this chart that you'll hear me talk about in a minute. But LSU Clemson, it's the battle of Death Valley. I like, and I think everybody else does, because everybody's sick and tired of hearing the Clemson hype. We're going with LSU. LSU to beat Clemson, and it's going to be a duel of two really good quarterbacks in Cade Klubnik and Garrett Nussmeier. And I think there's going to be a lot of points scored, and I will be calling it on my YouTube channel, doing play-by-play for it on Saturday night. And the next game is Utah-UCLA, and we are picking UCLA to beat Utah, and I just can't get behind picking Utah because, yes, I know they have a new quarterback in Devin Dampier, but I feel like it's better to pick UCLA here with Nico because Nico did play last year at Tennessee and it didn't really go well, but who knows? And then Virginia Tech and South Carolina. The big game, well, there's two big games on Sunday. There's Notre Dame and Miami, and this one, Virginia Tech, South Carolina. And we are going with Virginia Tech here to beat South Carolina. And I like Kyron Drones to have a big game against them. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we get to the college football picks chart for week 1. Game picks. First one, San Jose State, Central Michigan. And this chart is mine. This is non-MVP. This is regular picks. Here, understand that. So, Central Michigan, San Jose State. I'm taking San Jose State to beat Central Michigan. No, correction. I'm taking Central Michigan to beat San Jose State. And I mean, you can make these picks too. If both of these charts are for everybody. I say me because I'm the one that made them. But y'all can if you want to take these picks, you can. Don't feel bad. And you heard me talk about Central Michigan's offense and defense in the video yesterday, which I highly recommend going and watching if you want to hear who I think the top offenses and defenses are going to be for this year. But I really like Central Michigan's offense here, and I think they're going to put up a lot of points. And whatever the over-under is, I would take the over because I think both teams are going to score a lot of points. Ball State and Purdue. I would love to take Purdue, but I'm going to go Ball State. I don't trust Purdue in their first game under Barry Odom to not give up more than 30 points. It's just not going to happen. I think they lose to Ball State. Northwestern and Tulane, this shouldn't even be an afterthought here. Tulane is going to win this game, and I don't think it's going to be relatively close. Tulane's got Jake Retzlaff, and I know I didn't really rank Tulane in the offensive rankings yesterday, but we'll see how their offense is in Toledo and Kentucky. And I think this is one of the few games Kentucky's going to win this year. And yes, I'm kind of high on their defense. Their offense, not so much, as you saw in the offense and defensive rankings yesterday morning. Which again, what are you doing if you haven't watched that video? And if you're enjoying this one, please remember to subscribe and like the video. And then we get over to picks against the spread. And the first one is Old Dominion plus 23.5 to cover against Indiana. Now, this first, in the Old Dominion plus 23.5, it's gone up and down during the last couple days. I looked Sunday, it was 24. Then it went down to 23.5. Then it went down to 22.5. Now it's back up at 23.5. So you can either take it or you could go and you can flex it out and put somebody else, another game in there that has a lower point spread if you want to. But I like Old Dominion to cover here. I do think they're going to score quite a few points. And I think they can keep up with Indiana. Now we got UMass plus 2.5 to cover against Temple. This game's going to be ugly. I think you're looking at 17-14, 14-10, 14-3. I don't think there's going to be a lot of scoring in UMass and Temple. That's why I like the 2.5 in favor of UMass. Because UMass is finally back in the conference. They're not an independent anymore. They are now in the MAC. Next one is South Florida plus 6.5 to cover against Boise State. We just talked about this a minute ago back if you want to hear the full spiel. But we had this game on our MVP chart. And we had South Florida win it. And I think if you're going to bet on South Florida here, you want to take the point spread, which is 6.5. And it hasn't really moved at all. I think it opened at 8.5. And it went down to 7. And now it's down at 6.5. And I think that's where it's going to stay going into Thursday. And then the last one is LSU plus 3.5 to cover against Clemson. Now, in this case, I will take the point spread of under 4 points because I believe LSU and Clemson are going to score a ton of points. That is why I like LSU plus 3.5. And then my over-unders, we start, and I did it in order of the highest to the lowest point total. First one is Stanford versus Hawaii. We saw both these teams play last week. Right? I think. Yes, we did. And Hawaii looked really good. Stanford did not. As a matter of fact, let me see something real quick, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see here. We are checking something. We are checking who. Okay. Where is that chart? Right there. Stanford and Hawaii do play this week, so we were right. And the total is 55 points. I like the under here. I do think Hawaii is going to score a lot of points. Stanford looked atrocious last week against when they played their first game of the year last week. They did not look good. And I don't feel safe taking the over here, even though, like I said, I think Hawaii does score a ton of points. Wyoming and Akron is the next one. The total is 50.5. I like the under. I feel like this is going to be, as we say as college football fans, there's some games that are just snoozers. And I feel like this is going to be a snooze fest here. That's why I like under 50.5 points between Wyoming and Akron. Next is the Duke's Mayo Classic in Charlotte and North Carolina. And we got App State versus Charlotte. I know I'm fixing this on stream, but it was a spelling error. Let's go. There. App State versus Charlotte. Total is 49.5. I like the over. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. I don't know who's going to win, but I think we're set in stone for a high-scoring game there. And then Texas, Ohio State's the last one. Total's 47.5. I've seen people taking the under here. I know these teams both have good defenses, but I like Ohio State and Texas to go over 47.5 points. Jeremiah Smith on Ohio State's side, and then you got Arch Manning on Texas' side. I think they're going to go back and forth to see who's going to score more points. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here are my players, my stat projections for week number 1 of college football. And we start with Byron Brown of USF. I think against Boise State, he's going to throw for 324 yards and 5 total touchdowns. 2 passing, 3 rushing, and he's also going to have 2 interceptions. So he's going to have a really good game for USF against Boise State, which, again, not to dog on anything, but I will be doing play-by-play for that game on YouTube here at 5:30 on Thursday. As well as on Thursday, that is when I will put out my college football rankings for week number 1. The second player that I am projecting stats for week number 1 is Dylan Raiola versus Cincinnati. I think he's going to throw for 400 yards, 408 yards, and 4 TDs. This is a big year for Dylan Raiola. It is year 3 under I almost said Scott Frost again. Whoops. Under Matt Rule. And I believe that there's going to be a lot of potential in this Nebraska offense to take off in year 3 under Matt Rule. Next is Jeremiah Smith. I think he goes 7 catches, 80 yards, and 2 TDs against Texas. And yes, I know what people are going to say, oh, you're an Ohio State truther. You're always going to pick Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah Smith was one of the key reasons Ohio State won the national championship last year. I think they can win this game against Texas. And people need to stop saying it's going to be a blowout. It is not going to be a blowout. And the last player projection stats projection I have for week 1 is Damon Williams of Washington. And his stat line against Colorado State is going to look like this. 418 yards and 2 touchdowns. And 5 touchdowns against Colorado State. I think Washington, like you saw on the chart, I think they're going to beat the brakes off of Colorado State. My players to watch, and I have 3. Dante Moore, Julian Sand, and Damon Williams, all quarterbacks. And I think all 3 of them are going to have really good week 1s. in the games to watch for week 1, we've got on Friday, we've got Baylor and Auburn. I think that's going to be a really good game. And later today at 5:30, you can hear my full preview of all the week 1 games on the PNW Sports Report, which there's 2 episodes of that today, 5:30 and 8 o'clock. Second is Texas, Ohio State, which if this was a night game, I would definitely pick this one over LSU Clemson to be doing play-by-play for, but it is not, unfortunately. Then we have LSU Clemson, and I will be calling that game on this YouTube channel Saturday night, and in Boise State in South Florida. Also calling that game on this YouTube channel. We do have merch here for this show, as well as memberships. Purchase a membership or buy some merch. Please like it. Remember to like and subscribe. I will see everybody at 5:30. Have a wonderful rest of your day.